Hi, everyone, and welcome to uh, an episode in the Career Series by EBC Teens. I'm your host, Shrikar, and I have with me Anirudh, who will also be hosting today's session. Um, in this Career Series, we will explore the different careers available for people uh, throughout the world, the vast world, and taking a look at some very popular careers and people who are specialized in them. In this episode, uh, we feature an experienced worker from the aviation field, Mr. Bimal Nair. Uh, Bimal is an avionics teacher at Aviation High School located in New York City, an avionics technician at American Airlines, and an FAA certified private pilot. Um, Thanks for coming on the show today, Bimal. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Great to be here.
All right, then. We'll get started with the first question of the series and today's episode. Why is aviation and avionics important in today's world?
Oh, that's how much time do we have? A lot. It's very important. Um, Aviation in general, as you know, right now it's in the downfall. It's a little bit, it's suffering because of the pandemic, but it's recovering very, very well. And in the near future, and I was just checking flights today, even just before this meeting, I was checking flights and I was looking at the loads of various airlines to see where I can travel in the next 2 weeks or so, and I see the loads are coming up. So that's very good for everybody. And of course, aviation in this day and age, you need it. All the merchandise that moves around the world, all the people that are moving around the world, it's extremely important. And what is avionics in all this? Avionics is the electronics of the airplane, all the autopilot, all the navigation, radios, all the systems that are on the airplane. That's what avionics is, and the avionics is what keeps the airplane running smoothly and safely. So it's extremely important, both in the aviation business as a general. You cannot survive without it right now because the world is so interconnected. I mean, you guys take vacations. There's no way to get there unless you want to get on a ship and get there 2 months later. Then you have to go to lockdown again for another couple of days. Nah, that's not going to work. We need aviation. We need it to work. Remember all the cargo that moved, or even during that Suez Canal incident where the ship got stuck in between the canal. Well, that doesn't happen in aviation. We don't have that problem. We don't have any canals. The whole airway is open. And during that canal situation, they had to move cargo. Where did they migrate to? They migrate the cargo onto aviation, all the cargo airplanes, and they, accommodated the Suez Canal mishap. So it's very important. Very, very important. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so can you describe the various sectors in the aviation industry?
Various sectors as far as jobs, what is available?
Yeah, as jobs.
Okay, sure. So aviation in itself, if you look at any airport, let's say, right? It could be Delhi, it could be Chennai, it could be New York JFK, it could be Paris. It doesn't matter. It's a city in itself, right? It is a literal city. Okay, obviously there's pilots, technicians, stewardesses. That's a given, right? Cargo handlers. That's a given. But what's not given is, well, how about a doctor? Are you a doctor? Maybe you want to go to the medical field. Well, every single major airport has a medical facility. Did you know that? Every single major airport had nursing because, well, passengers do get sick. And in this little miniature city, because remember, on an everyday basis, this city sees thousands of people, right? So the chances of you getting sick or somebody getting sick, either let's say motion sickness, or let's say they have a fever, and then the security or the screening process found that there was somebody who was sick, who's going to attend to them? A medical service needs to be there. So in most circumstances, there's an actual hospital, not just medical people, a hospital within the airport. So medical is in there. Now, if you look at an airport like New York LaGuardia Airport, the airport is going through major construction. So what do you have there? You have engineering, right? Mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, all sorts of engineers. You have architecture, definitely. You have construction, definitely. So I always tell my students, whatever job you're going for, almost, almost, almost any single job that you're going for, you can place it within the airline business or the aviation business. It's an almost guarantee. Instructors, you name it, we have it. Psychologists, because some of the um, passengers are afraid of flying. They have fear of flying courses where psychologists will send them to an actual airplane sitting in a hangar in a very safe environment and let them get used to actually sitting inside an airplane so that they can actually get a feel of it, so they don't get nervous going to the airport and having that fear. So there are so many aspects to aviation business. I mean, the airport, the airlines. You're into finance. What is the aviation business all about? Money, right? So marketing, finance, accounting, CPA, whatever that is you may be interested in, you can place that job in the aviation business. And one of our favorites, IT, right? I have they're all single airlines have an IT department. Every single month must have it because all the computers are integrated, all the booking systems are integrated, and you hear once in a while that an airline is unable to fly because they have a computer glitch. And who do you think takes care of that? It's the IT department. But you know what's the big benefit of working for an airline versus, let's say, an IBM or any other, any other company? What's the big benefit of working for an airline?
Free tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Therefore, the almost no cost tickets. You can go almost anywhere, almost free. Sometimes absolutely free. If you fly your own airline, you can fly for absolutely free. So not only do you get to work the job that you really want to work for, you don't have to work as a technician or a pilot or anything, not even aviation related. You could be a finance guy, working for an airline, and still get the tickets. Even if you're an MBA or even a lawyer, you have aviation lawyers, specific aviation lawyers. They're all working for the airline and they're all family can fly for nearly for free. I think that's the biggest benefit of all. How does that work? Sound good, Anirudh?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So you said that you can practically find any or almost any job in the aviation field. So I think the next question may be a bit of a tricky one to answer, but
Sure.
what kind of traits would benefit someone going into the aviation field?
What are the traits?
Yeah,
So what kind of traits do you need, in other words, yeah?
yeah.
Okay. So the only trait other than the obvious, hardworking, intelligent, and just a go-getter, that's obvious, right? I mean, everybody knows that. The only other trait that I think in the aviation field, in a lot of the aspects or a lot of the operation of an aviation field, is that remember it's a 24-hour operation. So what does that mean? You might not be working at a regular 9 to 5 job. You'll have to work maybe an afternoon shift where you start at 2 p.m. and end your shift at 11 p.m. Or you start at 10:30 p.m. and you end your shift at 7 p.m., 7 a.m., which is what I do. I work night shift. So the fact that you have to prioritize and plan your day out properly and do really time management, that's a very, very big trait to have in the aviation industry. Because if you don't manage your time properly during the day, well, then you have to go to work at night and you're not going to be very good at it, right? All the other traits are pretty much generic. In other words, you need quite a bit of training in almost all the field of aviation. So education, hard work, a little bit of common sense goes a long, long way in aviation. I mean, that goes for anything, obviously. That's what I said, it's pretty general. But one of the more specific ones is time management as far as working shifts. And remember, it is a 24-hour operation, but also 365 days a year, right? So in other words, the weekends, yeah, you might be working. The holidays, yeah, you might be working. You have Diwali to celebrate. Well, you could probably celebrate at the airport. So yeah, it's kind of sucks in that way. You do have to work odd hours while everybody else is having fun. You might have to go to the airport and work. But for me, that's fun anyway. So I'm like, okay, fine. I don't mind. I'll work. It's no big deal. So those are some of the things you really have to look out for. But math and sciences usually in the field of aviation helps out quite a bit. Yeah. Next one. Give me a good one.
What are the most sought out aviation industries globally?
What is the? I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
What are the most sought out aviation industries globally?
So what is it as far as what is the most sought after job or what industry of aviation?
No, as in like you want to study aviation. So what are the best institutes to
Oh,
study aviation?
institutes. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so there is, it really depends on what you want, right? Because remember what I told you, you can be a finance guy. So you can go to a finance college and still apply for an aviation business, right? Now, if you want to be aviation specific, if you want to be aeronautics specific, there is a university here in the US called Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. It's in Florida. It
Can
is
you
considered
repeat
the
the name, please? You cut out.
Embry-Riddle. Sure, it's a Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Mhm.
Okay, it is in Florida, and it is considered the Harvard of aviation because it is the place to go for anything aviation related. And of course, they have all the various subjects from flight all the way to management, all the way to the MBAs, finance, you name it, they have it. Even aircraft technician, they have it. But the only thing is, it's a lot of this, right? So you have to be careful. So you can go to Embry-Riddle and get your finance degree from Embry-Riddle, specific in aviation, major in aviation, or you can go to City College up in New York, get a finance degree from there, and it'll be a fraction of the cost. Pretty much the same education, but it's not specialized. That's the only difference. So, college and the pathways you take are various. I mean, you can go many different ways. And I have friends and, coworkers who came from various universities or pathways, or some even don't even have any degrees. They're very specific about licensing. And those licenses can get you where you're going. Because even if you think about it as a commercial pilot, the way the industry is right now in the US at least, you don't need a degree to be a pilot. Back in the day, it used to be very much a thing, a requirement to have a degree. But nowadays, all you need is the certification, the type of aircraft you're flying, and the number of hours, and you can actually get to the job. So it's a very, like I said, regional kind of thing. Because in India, it might be different. Because I think in India, they require you to have a degree and a certain pathway to get there. They want you to go to a specific aviation, usually an airline program to get to that position. So it's very specific to where you are. You really have to research the local aviation industry. Look it up. That's the best way to look into it. Actually, one of the best ways you can actually, find out how to get there. Talk to somebody in your local area, like India, and talk to them. How did you get there? What is the pathway? Because it really varies on where you are. Okay, that was a good one. I like that question.
I'm glad you liked it. So if we're interested in the aviation industry, how can we learn more about it to find out if we are really interested in pursuing a career in it specifically?
Okay. So I know in the US, where you are, Shrikar, the FAA does a lot of programs where they have exploratory visits to the airports, right? Or you can find local clubs that will do the same. And I think it's the same thing with India or anywhere. There's usually a governing agency for the aviation sector. Either there's EAA or some other acronym, CAA. It's always something, right? But there's some kind of a acronym that will government agency that's gonna show you what jobs and what opportunities are available there, and they're very proactive because they want people to get into the program and be, part of the aviation industry in that region or in that country. So over here, there's a lot of clubs you can join, right? There's what is it, the EAA here, which is like Experimental Aircraft Association, which is they take you up for free, basically rides on airplanes as an introductory flight, and you have to go on further and pay your way through it. But there's always a way from your local school. That's the best way to do it, to take a field trip to the airport and let them show you what they have to offer. We do that quite a bit in my school. Obviously, my school name is Aviation High School, so obviously, it's a no-brainer. So we do take the kids to the local airport, which happens to be one of the biggest airports in the world, JFK. And JFK, they have all these airlines, and those airlines are hungering for all these kids to come in and take interest in their company. So what do? They bring us in a fancy little bus to the airport and treat us to breakfast and lunch, really good. And then they show us all the things that they have to offer. What's the benefits? Why do you want to work for this airline? Why do you want to work for the airline industry? So these airline industry personnel will really, it's in their interest to get your interest. You know what I mean? So they want you to come there and have a look at the system. They want to show off what they have to offer. And believe it or not, one of the trips that I took for my school, where I had to take a bunch of kids, the CEO of JetBlue Airlines sat down with us and had lunch with us. That's how much they want us to be part of their industry. You understand? So see, the thing is, unlike being a doctor or lawyer or a lot of these professions where it's very, very difficult to get there. Right now, the aviation industry is saying, come work with us because we really need people. So when you have that opportunity, it's a very, very easy thing. It's a very easy pathway, in other words, right? It's less of resistance to get to that job. Whereas in other industries, it might be a little bit more difficult. So if you have, let's say, a finance degree and you want to work in aviation, they're like, yeah, good idea. Let's go. Come on, I'll take you in. So it might be a lot easier to get into an aviation company or an airline company rather than a corporate company. Even though aviation is a corporate company, don't get me wrong, it is a corporate business, right? But it is different from, let's say, Morgan Stanley or some other recognized brand of corporate business. So it's really a dynamic question because there are so many ways you can get there. But the aviation industry does kind of want to show themselves off to you. So find out where those clubs are, or where you can find somebody to take you to the organized trip to the airport or to an airline. That's the best way to see what's out there. Because one thing I discovered when I was in high school was that I thought I was going to be an engineer, like a regular engineer, not an aircraft engineer. So I went to this program and in the middle of high school, and I did electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, environmental engineering. I did all of these things. And you know what I found out? No, I don't like any of them because I refuse to sit inside an office or in front of a desk and work like that. That's not me. I want to be out, like physically walking around, doing upside down crazy stuff, and that's just the way I am. I'm not built for a desk. Okay, so I discovered very early on that I did not want to sit on a desk and then type away or calculate something away as an engineer. It just does. I don't find it interesting. I thought I would find it interesting. I tried it. I didn't like it. In the same fashion, Shrika, you guys should actually go out there and see what the industry is. See where you want to go. Experience it. And maybe you don't like it. And I did discover that I'm not like an engineering field. So I decided to be more hands-on approach. A little bit more, out there kind of approach. That's a good one too. I like that. That's a good question.
How can you serve society through this profession?
Serving society through the profession. Well, this is a service society, literally, right? Because what are you serving? You're serving the people. Your number one focus or the number one person on the agenda is the customer, right? Without the customer, there is no business. So from the ground up, that's what every airline tries to focus on, or some airlines do a little bit better than others, right? Because as you know, if you fly one airline versus another, there's a difference in how you get service and what kind of service you get. But serving the customer is number one priority to every airline. That goes for you. Let's say I go to work, right? My personal responsibility is to make sure that when the pilot shows up for the flight that morning, when the passenger shows up for the flight that morning, that I did my work correctly, safely. Safety is the number one concern for me. Because if I don't do these things in a very safe manner, then the airplane can be actually unsafe to fly, right? It could have an incident in the air where what I did could have caused an incident, and that could be quite serious. So my daily consciousness going to work is serving the people. In other words, how can I serve them safely? How can I give them a safe product? That's my daily concern, and that goes to basically every single person in the aviation business, as far as physically touching the airplane, the pilots, the flight attendants, the technicians, the people that are servicing the airplane for various things. Their primary concern is the safety of the airplane because you don't want any incidents whatsoever. So as far as serving is concerned, that's my line of thought. How do I serve? My service is that you get to wherever you're going safely. That's how I serve you. If you don't notice me, that's great. That's the best thing, because you're not supposed to notice me. I'm supposed to just work in the background, make sure you get there. And by the way, one more thing about safety: a lot of people get upset when the airplane gets delayed due to weather. Don't complain, please, okay? Because that is a good thing that you got delayed for weather. Because if your airplane's going like this, it's good, right? But if your airplane's in weather, it's going doing this. No, it's not good, and that's why you're not going in bad weather, because it's unsafe, right? Same thing goes for mechanical failure. Technical issues. Everybody goes, "Oh man, my flight's delayed. I'm gonna be late for this. I'm gonna be late for that." Hello, we're trying to tell you that this airplane is not safe right now. Wait for the airplane to get fixed, then you'll get there safely. Otherwise, we cannot guarantee anything. So there's these protocols put in. So safety is number one, and safety is a service, in my opinion, for all the airlines to the people. A to B service, yeah, of course, that's what we're there for. That's a given. But safety is the number one service. Okay.
This question ends our formal interview. After this, we will open up our session to audience questions. So anyone who is within EBC Teams is able to ask questions during our interviews. But to give this a formal wraparound, thank you, Bimal, for the wonderful interview. At the Early Birds Teens Club, we're focused on waking up early and changing our lifestyle so that we can be more connected to nature and to ourselves.
Oh,
We
let me add
host-
something to that.
Hmm?
Let me add something to that. As far as Early Birds Club,
Sure.
extremely important to get up early. My regular work days, I get up at 4:30. I see some of you are laughing. Maybe you're not getting up early, but it is very important to get the day started early. 4:30 in the morning. Even if you take a nap during the day, hey, listen, we'll forgive that. I do that too. Once I get on the train, I take a little nap. But I used to get up at 6:30, then 5:30, then keep moving up. I get up to 4:30, then sometimes once in a while I go to 4:15. And believe me, it sets your day up much better. You're much more at ease. You get the day started early, and the best part about that, getting up early, nobody's there to bother you. That morning, that time in the morning, it's yours. That's the best part. That's it. I'm done.
Where was I? Yeah. So adding more to that, the early morning is considered the golden hour, and here at EBC, we want to exploit that so that everyone can get the chance to achieve their dreams by working hard through the golden hours to chase whatever they want to chase in life. We host multiple events that are streamed live to you via Facebook and YouTube. You can explore our website, earlybirdsclub.org, or hop onto our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube pages at Early Birds Teens. Obviously, our YouTube page would be just Early Birds Teens. If you have any questions, please shoot an email to teens@earlybirdsclub.org. Thank you. Hope you enjoy this interview.